Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tony Margaritelli. Welcome to another one of my Tony Talks. Today, I've lost my notes there. Today I'm going to be interviewing Ben Chaplin, who's the MD of CronerTaxwise. CronerTaxwise are one of, if not the largest, Ben will say they're the largest, fee protection company in the UK, and they've been long-time supporters of the ICPA. So first of all, I'm just going to introduce Ben and ask Ben if he'd like to tell us a little bit about himself and actually the history of CronerTaxwise, which seems to have gone through all manners of changes in the last few years, Ben.
Yeah, no, thanks, Tony.
Okay.
Thanks for inviting me. Actually, yeah, my background is I'm a chartered accountant by trade, qualified. Well, it doesn't exist now, with what was Panel Forster PKF back in the 90s.
Yeah, you managed to put them in. No.
Well, a lot of changes. A lot of change. And at various bits and bobs, I've found myself within the fee protection arena for 16 years now, which is scary when you look back and how quick that's gone. And who are CronerTaxwise is something we get asked quite a lot. So, you know, a potted history without going into too much detail. Its origin started within Peninsula in 2004. So Peninsula's well known for employment law and HR products, and saw a gap to get into the tax fee protection market, and did that from scratch with a small team, and built it up very successfully, and that continued. And then I think it was in 2007 there was an acquisition of what was the fee protection business of Kudos.
Yeah.
And those two traded as Kudos Taxwise and Peninsula Taxwise, who then sort of merged together to become Taxwise in sort of 2008, 2009, and that was very successful and worked very, very nicely. It was all based out of Leicestershire, so we sort of left Manchester behind at that point, started to build the business in Leicestershire, and then in 2015 we got the opportunity to acquire Croner Group. And Croner Group consists of two businesses, if you like. There's Croner Consulting, which is an employment law business, and CCH Fee Protection. Previously IRPC, which some people, the older ones will remember. Older ones will remember that. So what we've done there is we've lifted the CCH Fee Protection business and put that into the Taxwise business, which is then being rebranded as CronerTaxwise. Right. So that was end of 2015.
Right. And recently, you've acquired another piece, haven't you?
Yes, which will be known as Croner I.
Croner I.
So this is an acquisition still from the Wolters Kluwer Group, but a little bit different, because when we acquired Croner Group, it was a clean acquisition. It was a business in its own right. But there's two bits of the Wolters Kluwer Group we were still interested. The software bit is what they're all about. That's 99% of their business. But they have a product called Croner I, which is a nice little module that sits well within the employment law product. And they also have CCH Daily and CCH Online. You know, the reference manuals.
Yes, I use them. I read them.
All that.
Oh, so you acquired those? Yeah.
Yes. So that fits quite nicely with both our employment law business and our tax business.
Cool.
It's a completely separate business, but clearly we're talking to each other because we'll be able to help each other out. Okay. So early days, we only acquired it. Only completed 7 or 8 weeks ago. Yes. So yes.
Yes, it is fairly recent. Yeah. I just, for the viewers and people listening, we're going to have a little bit about Croner and fee protection generally at the beginning now, and then we're going to come back to some specific questions about handling the tax investigation. And I'll put my hand up now and say I know what a tax investigation is, and it's not an inquiry, so I call them investigations, and we're going to cover how you're handling tax investigations a little bit later on. So for the moment we're just going to be talking about fee protection, how it works and what goes on, and then we'll come on to look, hopefully, quite a few specifics about handling tax investigations. Right, so now we know exactly where you are in CronerTaxwise. Actually, how many practices do you insure, as it were? And of all those practices, how many clients do they have?
We insure, it's somewhere between 3,800 and 4,000 practices we actually insure at this moment in time. So they've got live policies with us today. Right.
So how many clients do you know? How many clients those 4,000?
Yeah, underneath that, there's about 500,000 or 600,000 insured clients.
500,000 or 600,000.
Yes.
So any information we're going to get from you about trends, etc., is going to be pretty hot, isn't it?
Should be, yeah. Should be, yeah. We have, with the amount of claims we get them from that, obviously we get to see some decent data.
Okay. So, okay, you just mentioned how many claims you get a year. How many claims do you roughly get?
it's around, it varies. It's on average about 7,000 new claims a year. And at any moment in time, so at the minute, I think we've got about 4,500 live.
On the go.
On the go.
I don't suppose you can say, but roughly how long, is there such a thing as an average timescale for an investigation?
That's probably more difficult to answer than it ever has been, because you get so many that are so short now.
Yeah.
But then you still get we still have, I've got claims live to 2007.
2007?
Not many.
No, thank God. Oh, thank goodness, yes.
But if you go back to 2010, I've probably got 100, 150.
From 2010? No. Yes, so can you explain the types of fee protection scheme that CronerTaxwise offer? And also, don't forget, by the way, that ICPA members do get a very special rate if they want to acquire fee protection for their practice. But what are the types of fee protection scheme? What do you that CronerTaxwise offer? How's it branded? What's it called?
It's much, yeah, again, a lot of this has become much simpler now. We've got a core product which is called Premier Protection. Yeah. So that's the all-encompassing product. In years gone by, people used to have slightly different products that covered different things, and I think because the landscape's changed, that's not right. You've got to cover everything. Yeah. So it's Premier Protection,
and it covers the lot.
It covers the lot, which we can talk about in a minute. Yeah. But there's two ways to operate a fee protection scheme in essence. One is to do it on an optional basis, where you ask your clients if they want to subscribe and take advantage of the cover. Yeah. The other option is you do it on a sort of a compulsory basis, an all-client basis, where you say to me, Ben, I've got 200 clients, I just want to give it to everybody, and you do it that way. Yeah.
I suppose the more classic one is that you cover the entire practice, because obviously it takes the pain out of writing copious letters every year and pretending you're an insurance broker, which of course we're not. So that can take a lot of admin to try and get individual clients to take it up.
Yeah, yeah.
So I suppose that's a more classic way. But if I was to apply and I said to you, I've got 200 clients, I'm going back in the old days of IRPC, but back in the, you used to have to provide copious lists of clients every time we got a new client. You used to have to update your client list, etc. What goes on with that? Do you still have to do that?
So if we're setting up a new scheme, we don't need a huge amount of information, to be honest. We need to get a feel for what your charge out rates are, what inquiries you've had within your practice over the last 2 or 3 years, and how many clients you've got. That's enough for us to put a scheme in place.
For a list of clients?
If you're doing it on an all-encompassing basis, no. No, we just,
numbers.
Yes, but obviously if it's an optional, we need to know who's in and who's out.
Yeah, obviously if it's an optional. But if you do the entire practice, then, and I say there's 200, you'll accept there's 200.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay. One other thing, it always does my head every time I think about it. Can you explain simply what is and why is it that you every fee protection, not just you personally, Croner, every fee protection mentions a regulated practice and a non-regulated practice.
Yes.
What is a regular as opposed to a non?
I must admit, non-regulated is an awful term, because you think, well, non-regulated, we're not doing it right. But no. What it actually means, a better term is where there is a practice insured scheme rather than non-regulated. So a practice insured scheme is where, so I'm the practice, and I take out a policy, and I offer my clients a service. So I offer you, the clients, a service. The client takes the service, and I say to the client, I've got an insurance policy that supports this service. Yes. So the
insurance is in your name.
Yes. So the supply to the client is not it's not a supply of insurance; it's a supply of a service. So that's that part of the transaction then is non-regulated.
Oh, I see.
But if the other way of doing it is you act as an insurance agent. So if I'm the accountant, I on-sell an insurance product to my client's insured. Now that's regulated. And for that I have to have a license or an FCA authorization. And there's some changes afoot there which is worth being aware of if anybody does operate on a regulated basis. There's a thing called the Insurance Distribution Directive, which is still in IDD. That's it. So that's due to be, it's not finalised yet. It's still going through that review process. That's due out really any time. Now that could have an impact on regulated schemes, but we don't know because we've not got the final draft. And I'm in talks with the ICAW and their DPB people, but they're not going to know the impact until it's come out. So it's a bit. So I'm talking to people about it, but I can't give any answers.
But obviously,
we need to have it on the radar.
But the logic would be that no matter what, if there's something comes out of that you're not happy with, you can always switch to the and it doesn't impact on the scheme or the service you provide the clients.
It doesn't. In essence, the bones of it are the same.
Yeah.
But that IDD, there has been, I mean, that's due out end of Feb, compliance by that, which is ridiculous.
Well, it's due out by the end of Feb, but we haven't actually got.
No, we haven't got it yet.
Oh, it's a bit like MTD then, isn't it?
Yes. Then move on.
Let's move on. So, simple question. People have asked me, what exactly is covered by a standard fee protection scheme here? You know, people are saying to me, oh, does it cover aspects? Does it cover? Obviously, they assume it covers full investment, which we know.
Yeah.
Run through it. What does it cover?
It's any inquiry, any visit, any question you get from the revenue, whether that's an aspect, a full, whether it's income tax, corporation tax, PAYE. And when I say PAYE, I'm talking about pensions, anything to do with payroll, benefit in kinds.
Would that include workplace pension questions that come through from the regulator?
No, only from HMRC.
Only from HMRC.
Any inquiry from HMRC. It's probably easier to tell you what's not covered.
Yeah.
Because if we listed every single type of inquiry or every piece of legislation, my policy would be about 50 pages.
So basically, if you're getting a question about your client from HMRC, then it's probably covered.
Yeah, it is.
What about excesses?
No excesses. The only thing that's not covered is things like it's routine compliance. So if you've not put return in your due and you get a letter from the revenue saying we've not had your whatever, well, we're not going to pay to have that put in. It's not going to cover fraud.
No. No, fair enough.
That's basically there in the main. That's it.
Okay. Another question which probably you can't answer, but of course they're asking is how much does it cost? And our members, excuse me, I think accountants are fully aware of the opportunity to sell on to their clients, but do you have any input in prices people charge or not? But basically, one, can you answer how much does it cost, if you possibly can? But then, do you give clients help who are not sure what they want to charge on? I know you've just brought in the Institute of Marketing or something to help you out here, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got a digital team because things are going very digital. Yeah. Yes, but there's two answers there in terms of the cost of the raw policy, if you like. Well, that varies. Because things like that, somebody with a charge out rate of £30 or £40 an hour is not going to be paying the same premium as somebody with a charge out of £250, £300 an hour. So it depends on the charge out rate, mix of clients, inquiry history, things like that. But typically, for somebody who's an ICPA member operating on an all client basis, covering all their clients, you're looking at probably something £25, £30 a unit. Doing it on so it's as little as that. Now, in terms of marking that up and selling it on, again, that's something we'll help with. We can guide you on what you can add a fee on, because you obviously want to add a fee to cover your administration of dealing with it, but you want to make a bit of an income stream as well. We don't want to go mad, but we should take the opportunity to make a bit of money out of it.
And you can help with that with marketing or promotional stuff.
We can provide all of that in terms of letter templates, leaflet templates, web templates, social media content, website content, all this sort of stuff.
Do people take you up a lot on that particular offer, or do you think they've got an idea in head, or they've worked it out and they're not bothered too much? But
it's on an increment, because the digital stuff is gathering more and more and more pace. If you said to me, I don't know, 2 years ago, how many of your clients pay online and take the product digitally and have their fulfillment digitally, I would say not very many. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's going up every month. You know, people want to click a button, they want to buy it, and they want to, and they want to see it promoted through social media. They don't look at letters, they don't read this.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
It came up in the election, didn't it? People not using social media properly.
So okay. One thing classic statement everyone makes about insurance is great until you make a claim. So okay, you go through the process of making the claim. You know, from the minute whatever it is, the opening letter for the investigation, inquiry, the opening letter coming through, etc., right the way through. How does it function? How do we make a claim? Do we get do we have to wait to the end to get our money? Can we ask in between? Just run through
it's
how it functions.
Yeah. It's very straightforward. It's all online. You can call it. You can call in if you want, but you can do it all online.
So you don't have to do it online.
No. You can phone through. So if you've got a letter in front of you this morning, so we just opened our post here this morning, and we've got a client that's got an inquiry. Yeah. Now you'll know if he's got his post before you because he'll be ringing you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if he's not, he's going to be ringing you soon.
Yeah.
So the first thing you need to be able to do, you need to be able to take that phone call and deal with that.
Yeah.
So that's fine. There's always a, you don't have to get a claim authorised before you can talk to your client. That'd be ludicrous. So you can, deal with the initial stuff that you need to on the day, keep everything calm, whatever needs to be done. So to make a claim, it's quite straightforward. You just basically upload the correspondence through the portal.
So you scan and
scan it in. You put in your budget of what you think that's going to cost, and you'll get an authorisation back. Normally, pretty much straight away, because a lot of it's automated. Yeah. So that gets the claim live, that gets a budget set, and then you get on with the work.
So, which is an interesting concept, isn't it? Really, because what you're saying is, I then upload the stuff, and I say, I think this is going to take me 10 hours. Yeah. Right, and then you work on that 10 hours. Yeah. What if I really think it's going to be 3 hours, but I say 10 hours? But it doesn't really matter, because obviously we're then going to put in the hours that I did work, presumably.
Yes. Yeah, presumably.
But if I put in 10 hours, and does someone look at it and go, "Oh, don't be silly, it's only..." Do they come back and say, "No,
it does,
you're having a laugh"?
Yeah, within
Essex people.
Yeah. No, we have to strike a balance, because we're in a position where we want to make sure our accountants are all looked after and all their fees are paid. But then we've got the insurer on the other side of the table, so we can't be just divvying out his money willy nilly, or he's gonna he's not gonna be happy with that. So the team that we've got there, bear in mind they're dealing with 7,000 new inquiries a year, on average. So it's been higher. So the volume of cases they're working, they are very used to seeing this sort of correspondence, and they understand what's involved and what needs to be done. So
let's be honest, the revenue don't really think each letter through. It's
and a lot of them are quite standard.
A few adjustments, so they will probably spot the standard letter.
And if something looks like out of kilter, they'll just give you a call and say, "Tony, can you just talk me through what's going on with this one?" And you'll say, "Yeah, it's this, and this." So we try and hold this collaborative process.
And what about getting paid? Do we have to wait to the conclusion?
Again, really easy. You can invoice at any time, and do it exactly the same way. Upload it into the site. They're normally authorised the same day. We pay everything by backs. We do an overnight payment run every night.
So you pay every day?
Yeah.
You don't
There's with that many, we can't. Yeah, it gets too big. So we have to sweep it through every night and pay it every day. Okay. So generally, if you put an invoice in today, should get authorised today, should be in tonight's or tomorrow night's payment run, so should be with you in 3 or 4 days, really.
When I put out that I was holding this interview with you, I asked people to ask me questions. I got lots of questions. Some of them have indicated to me that they really don't feel, they're perfectly good account, they just don't feel confident handling inquiries.
Yes, which is,
look, I just don't like it. I don't feel confident on it. And obviously, if we know Croner will help them and take control of the inquiry, but will they keep the member or the accountant up to date? No, they're not going to be sidelined. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely no. The way it works is the way you've got to think about it is the Croner team is an extension of your practice. Yep. And within Croner we've got 30 advisors, so they're dealing with telephone advice, which is separate. We can talk about that separately. And we've got about a dozen consultants, and they deal with this sort of work, the inquiry work, or the more technical.
So they're handling my client. They're looking after my client.
So if you say to me, "Tony, Ben, I need your guys' help with that," they will work with you. So you can control that. So like a volume switch almost. So if you just say, "Look, I've written the response. Can you just get somebody to review? That's okay." Yeah. We can do that. You might say, "Look, here's all the information."
Okay. Yeah, that's good.
You send the response. You write the response for me. Or you might even say, "Ben, can you come and do the meeting? Can one of your guys come and do the meeting?"
So you can basically have them as a shadow partner there.
Yeah.
So, it's not obvious that you're seeking help, but if you want to say to your client, "Look, I'm getting the specialists in, you can bring you guys in from the first, they get introduced to your people, etc., and it can work that way, and you'll keep the members in the loop. And they'll obviously still Well, obviously your team can't possibly answer anything without their help, so they'll probably be able to bill as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Our consultant might say to you, I need some analysis on this, this, and this, which you'll have to go and get done, whatever it is, and you charge that time, and he'll charge his time for dealing with it. Okay. And you don't have to tell the client we're involved if you don't want to, or you could tell the client we're involved because it might give a bit of comfort that I'm wheeling in,
it does.
Wheeling in a big guy who's used to doing this sort of stuff.
I always say, I'm a GP and I know what to do if you've got a sore throat, if your arm's hanging off, we send you to a specialist. So it is perfectly feasible to say, I feel comfortable bringing in an expert.
Good analogy,
Another question we've got there is an interesting one. Is there a limit on costs?
No.
There's no limit.
There's no limit on costs, but there's a couple of things to mention on that sort
of thing. So there is a limit on costs? No, there is.
There is a limit. It's £100,000 per inquiry. So an insured event is covered up to 100,000. There's a couple of things we don't have in our policy, and that's a good thing. So we don't have any excesses.
No excesses.
And we don't have a thing called inner limits. So some policies feature inner limits, ours don't anywhere. So an inner limit would be something like, we cover aspect inquiries, Tony, but you only get 1,000 on those. Or we cover PAYE inquiries, you only get 1,500 quid, or whatever it might be.
But the flagship 100, that's only for full-blown. So you just don't have any.
No, we don't have any limits at all. Everything, doesn't matter what it is, where it stems from, it's 100,000. The only inner limit we do have one, which is Code of Practice 8. And there's a limit of 15,000 on Code of Practice 8 inquiries, provided it's not fraudulent. That's the only limit we've got.
Another one, cheeky one here. Is there a limit on our charge-out rates?
No. So when we go to set a scheme up, that's one of the conversations we'll have. And also during the year, there's room for a bit of margin in those because people review the charge-out rates during the year. I mean, just because we've taken out a scheme from the 1st of November, you might review your charge-out rates in April. And you just need to notify us and let us know. And if it's a marginal increase, that's all absorbed. It's absolutely fine.
Right. So there's no. So if I say my charge-out rate is £200 an hour, it's £200 an hour.
Yeah.
And obviously, the higher I have my charge-out rate, presumably that impacts on.
Yeah, that impacts on the costs.
If you want to have £500, that costs you a chunk more.
Yeah.
Okay. So another question is, how deeply do CronerTaxwise look into cost claim? And you get, for example, a letter could actually take hours to compose and research, but it's only one letter, and it looks like you sent one letter, you're claiming 3 hours.
Yes, good question. So on the face of it, you'll think a claims handler's going to look at a 2-page letter with 3 or 4 paragraphs in. It's going to say, well, that took me 4 hours. So, well, you should have been able to write that in half an hour. No, it comes back to the point of the experience of the people on that claims team. They will understand what's going on, and if there's anything they're unsure about, they'll just give you a call. You'll explain what's happened, and then and that's fine. So we can document that within the claim. Okay. It's one of the beauties of our claim system. Actually, we use the same system that our clients use. So the record for that claim, so everything you upload as the client sits on that claim, but all our comments also attached to that. So there's a nice history of every claim, all 6 days. It's quite neat.
Here's an interesting one that came through. If the inquiry goes in favour of HMRC, say, and it won't happen with any of my clients, because they have suppressed their takings, or they have significantly inflated costs that didn't, shall we say, exist. If that has happened, do Croner withhold payments then?
Right, there's probably 3 answers here. In a huge amount of inquiries, there is additional tax due at the end of it, and a huge amount there's not. But I mean, but the ones that, just because there's additional tax due at the end of the inquiry, that's quite normal. It's quite normal. So that doesn't trigger anything. If you've got something like suppressed takings or moving into fraud or misstatement or whatever it be, and it's quite significant, at that point we would have to query whether the cover will continue, because obviously what we're not going to do is offer insurance for somebody to steal or misappropriate.
If we run up £2,000 worth of costs to get to the point where the client in an interview scenario says, oh yeah, I only put in 4 days out of 7 takings, and we all sort of go, costs will be covered up to then.
Up to that point.
But then after there, I've got to have a conversation with my client, and you're going to say, Tone.
Everything's done in good faith. So what we do is up to that point, everything's covered, everything's fine, claims working as normal, invoice as normal, paid as normal, everything fine. Then you say the hand grenade goes off, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, there's something I've not told you, Tony. I've got this."
No, they wouldn't say that to me. No, yeah, I understand.
So yes, then
and of course,
it's not given it stops at that point. We just need to have a conversation of, you know, how material is it?
The other one, of course, is obviously you're not going to cover any investigation that's already started before you take out.
No, it works. The best way I always describe it to people when they ask this question, it works like car insurance. So you take a fee protection policy, and it runs from there to there. So if your inquiry happens within that window, I'm not interested who did the tax return, who submitted it, who prepared it, who, what year it's into. I'm not interested.
So you could, obviously, it does, which is an interesting point you just made there. Even though it's a new client to you and they've come under inquiry and you had nothing to do with that year or whatever it is, they would still be covered because they're covered under you.
They're covered under that in that period, yes.
But if it started before they did the scheme, tough takers.
Yes, it is. If you have an inquiry letter today.
Technical term there, people. Let's move on. I want to get some real stuff here while we've got Ben here about conduct of inquiries or investigations here, not just about fee protection, okay? Have you got, obviously you've got, how many we just covered, 4,000 accountants, and they've got how many clients roughly?
500,000-600,000 clients, and they're the insured ones. There's probably
more
and
you've got sort of 7,000 things per annum. So you should be in a good position here to tell us, give us some up-to-date information about HMRC's activity, inquiry activity. Is it on the increase? My gut reaction is the feeling is, from members and all the rest of it, it's on the move upwards, but you're the man who'll know.
It is on the move upwards. It has been since April. So what we do every year...
This April, it's been marked from this April.
12% is the figure I've got pegged at the minute as the increase in activity, which is quite significant.
12% from April?
Because what we do each year as a business, we forecast our inquiry levels for the next year. Now, obviously, because of the size and number of claims and inquiries and clients, and the history, we tend to forecast that very accurately. We're normally spot on. But this year, the inquiry numbers are running at 12% ahead of where our forecast is consistently.
Yeah. So how about, I mean, obviously, we're any accountant listening to this is going to think, I can imagine, January, this is when they open up inquiries. Is there, have you noticed a sort of hotspot when suddenly shed loads of inquiries come in?
Yeah, there's the traditional hotspot, because there's been a bit of an update here for you, is November and February is when we see the most amount of claims. The February ones are obviously, I think, notified in January and October because people are too busy. And then obviously they notify us the following month. So we see that spike every year, year in, year out. The last 2 years, we've seen an enormous spike in HMRC activity in August. And you're going to ask me why, and I don't know. I don't know. It's not anything specific. It's not a different sector. It's not a type of claim. It's just pure volume in August.
Could it be they've come back from holiday? I don't know. I got no.
I don't know. We just don't know.
We don't know. I wonder.
We were scratching our heads when it was. But it's twice. It's happened the last 2 August. So
Also, what about trends in the investigations itself? I mean, some time ago, it was perceived that they were using PAYE, saying they're going to come along and do a PAYE visit, and we're using that to sort of wheedle their way through and then have a good look at the books and then say, oh, they want to open up a case. I mean, is there something? Are you noticing that, or
that still
does that change?
It still does happen, but not as prevalent as I think it once was. I think there's.
It was once. There definitely was a time.
It was a time where that's where the way they come in. They come in.
And we were all saying at the time, beware when they're saying come in. They want to do a PAYE visit. You're thinking, I'm just going to look at how I calculate payroll, because they were into everything.
A third of our claims are VAT led. So because when a claim comes in, we classify it. So they're VAT. And a third are income tax inquiries. So they'll be your sole traders and your individuals. So I've got a theory on both. I think the income tax ones, the third there, they're looking for people that are perhaps easier targets than picking on the corporates. And the VAT ones, I think it's an opportunity to get into that business, have a bit of a nose around.
Rather than PAYE.
Yeah, so still using PAYE as well, but I mean, I can't remember the percentage on those. It's probably 15–20% on those.
VAT gives them a much quicker into the whole of the books rather than the PAYE.
You can get a good flavour of what's
going
on.
So a bigger flavour, I probably think. But I think you're probably right, and it's something that I've always been going on about, this tax gap nonsense. and the fact that it seems that is undoubtedly they're targeting the smaller business to cover the most, which would just seem to be.
See, for the VAT, you get quite a good flavour of sales, purchases, you know, you get growth. You know, you got your quarter. You can get quite a flavour of things quite quickly.
Okay, here's a perennial. It comes across my desk all the time. I'm going to put it onto you now. Private bank statements.
Oh yes, yes.
People are saying, asking me, you know, we're in an investigation scenario, almost within, you know, a hair's breadth of it starting, their HMRC are saying we want to see the private bank statements based on something as spurious, in my opinion, as, oh, well, your drawings go from the business into a private bank account, so we want to see it.
Yeah, I've heard that question exactly put like that. Your drawings go into that private bank account, so therefore we want to have a look at that. There's a simple answer to it. It's absolute nonsense.
Right.
Absolute
so
nonsense.
It should be rejected.
It should be rejected.
Obviously, if you give it to them because you run your business, your client runs a business through a private bank account, then there's no way of holding back. But unless HMRC can give you specifics as to why, they can't just go on a fishing exercise.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's two reasons. You've just mentioned the first one, and that's that you run business expenditure through your private bank account rather than your business bank account. And the second one is the revenue they've got to demonstrate. There's some reason to look at. There's some suspicion of misappropriation or whatever it might be.
You can stand firm on that and say, you know, until you've given us reason, you know, there's something wrong with the books or you know, the records. You can't just go willy-nilly into a private bank account.
Absolutely fine.
Okay. Another one members have reported saying that they've asked for, and we all understand that if there is going to be a meeting, asked for a detailed agenda, and some of the agendas they get in are pretty poor, you know, so something like introduction, discuss profits, discuss living, sufficient money to live, etc. Conclusion, a very negligible, not a real genuine agenda. And people saying, can we insist on a detailed agenda?
I don't think it's you've got to ask for one. You've got to ask for an agenda because it gives you a flavour of, it gives you a couple of things. It gives you a flavour of what's going on.
In there.
Yes.
Yep.
And on that note, by the way, just sorry, it's not the question you asked me, but if you're asking for an agenda, get in touch with the revenue. Who's coming from the revenue? How many people? Are they bringing one? Are they bringing two? Do we know what specialists they've got? Do we know them? Have we met them before? Do you know somebody you know? Do we try and get a what you know? How serious is this? What are they after that? And build up a bit of a relationship. But having that agenda gives you it does give you a tool, because if they bring something up that's way off that agenda, you've got the opportunity. If it's reasonable, you should answer it, and if you're comfortable with it. But if it's something you're not comfortable with and it's way off that agenda, it gives you the opportunity to say, look, that's not on the agenda. I need to give that some consideration. We're going to put that on one side. We're going to have to come back to you on that one. So it does give you that
agenda.
tool.
Obviously it's important, but you can say, look, we asked for an agenda. This is just 3 lines. That is not an agenda.
Yes.
You've got to put a bit.
You're not going to get all the detailed questions
no,
they're going to ask.
No doubt. But we should get a bit more than just 3 or 4 lines.
Yeah, and try and manage the time expectation as well. So ask them, how long is it going to be? What's the plan?
People have got to, we've got businesses to run. They've got to get on.
And tell them I've got a meeting. You know, if it's 10 o'clock, so that's fine. Just to let you know, I have got to be somewhere else at 2 o'clock. So you know, let's make it clear from the get-go that, you know, let's get this done in the time allocated.
And again, another one, can we insist on a meeting being held, say, at the accountant's office rather than at the business premises if there's going to be a meeting at all?
I think we can definitely push for that, Now, the things we can say to the revenue is, look, we're not comfortable with having a meeting at the business premises. We can say that there's a lack of privacy, there's not enough space, I don't want my staff being worried because there's something going on, they don't know what it is.
It's obvious that something going on.
So, so on those grounds, we can decline a meeting at the business premises, and then we want it at the accountant's premises.
Have you found that the revenue necessarily object to it, or obviously if they're going to smash in the doors at the business premises, they'll do it. But you know,
they can't really. They can't really. It's essentially we don't really want the meeting at the HMRC.
No,
because it's cold. Tea's no good.
No,
you know, we need home advantage. So at our offices, ideally.
Yeah, absolutely. And when Ben's saying no, he means our offices.
Yes, the accountant's office.
Yeah. Talking about meetings, you know, we've all got clients that you look at them and you think these people will not do well in an investigation type meeting scenario. You know who they are. You know they're not going to react well. You know they're probably going to let themselves down in that scenario. And there are others who you think are going to be fine, but say, oh, I really don't want to do it, Tony. So, first question: does a client does the client have to attend a meeting if they don't want to, or if we actually don't particularly want them to?
Yeah,
Do
well,
they
yes.
have to? They don't have to do that.
No, they do not have to be there.
Right.
Now, we just need to manage that a little bit. So it's absolutely fine. We don't want them there for whatever reason. But what we need to make clear to HMRC in this circumstance is we're being collaborative here. We're not being awkward.
Yeah.
So we say to HMRC, my client's not going to attend. I'll deal with the questions with my client because it'll be much quicker.
Do we have to give them a reason why they don't want to? They're not going to attend. You know.
No.
We just
say they're not going to attend.
Unwilling.
Yeah.
The client is unwilling to attend.
I wouldn't use the word unwilling even. I would just say the client's not going to attend because you need to make sure you're being collaborative. So the client's not attending. It's going to be quicker if you just ask me and I'll ask the client. I'll get the questions because I can decipher it and I'll deal with you. It'll be much quicker.
Much quicker. Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Good tip.
And if the client is attending, obviously we need to give the client a bit of a brief beforehand. In terms of, we don't want to get too aggressive.
Yeah, which comes on my thing about tips at the meeting, what's going on, tips at the meeting. I always remember, my old boss always saying to me, it's how you handle the silence. If it goes quiet, it goes quiet.
Absolutely.
And you just stay there quiet, it doesn't matter. Because no one's answering if they don't ask you a question.
Well, somebody said that to me. It's their
tips
meeting.
Have you got?
Yeah.
If you have gone for a meeting, have you got any other tips about?
Think simple things like tea breaks is a good example. Just use simple stuff. Think of it almost like a sports team. If things are going off piece and you want to just regroup, say, look, we're just going to break for a comfort break, tea break, whatever it is, just to sort of bring thoughts back together.
Okay. Another one an accountant put to me was that he found them. He was a guy. He found himself making copious notes throughout, and said it was very awkward because as he was trying to make notes, he was taking his mind. His mind was being split. And I said, you don't need to make copious notes, do you? Some, but you don't have to lose your concentration just to write down.
And that's the fine line you tread. I know I agree with you. I think you do need to make some notes. With all the will in the world, you're not going to recall everything that happened in a meeting. You're not going to be able to write everything down that happened in a meeting. No, it's just not. It's just not going to happen. No. The danger is if you start trying to do that, you mishear a question, or you might miss a really crucial point.
Bad answer. Yeah. Okay.
So what we should do, but when they make a positive point and they agree with you, repeat it back to them. So sort of if something's gone our way, so that's the answer we were looking for. Emphasise that back to the inspector.
Yep. Another member question: if during the course of an inquiry, the accountant says, I think it's not going very well. He's not liking the way it's going. They've said, can they then call in Croner to help out at that point once it's gone to a point and they've got a feeling it's not quite going so well? And will that then look bad for the client in the whole course that suddenly we've now called in some experts to help us? Or would it be better to call you in but keep you in the background?
The choice is yours, I suppose. It's the simple answer. Firstly, it doesn't look bad, and yes, you can call us in at any time. So you can get us involved at the beginning of the inquiry, or in the middle, or at the end at any point. And whether that's at the beginning or in the middle, the same engagement applies. So if you would like us to work in the background and support you, and you don't need to tell your client that we're involved in supporting it and providing sort of consultancy, if you like, in the background, that's fine. But then if you spin that on his head, you might actually be able to get a brownie point with your client by saying, look, I'm a member of CronerTaxwise, they've got loads of specialists in this area, they're going to come in and support us with this. So you can work in one, but in either case, I don't think it looks bad for the client at all.
A final question on sort of one of the questions on CronerTaxwise. If an accountant's had a bad run, got 2 or 3 inquiries come up and they've not gone particularly well, does that sit badly with Croner? Do they then say, he should have picked this up or he should have done that, and then they start looking deeper at his client base?
No, there's sometimes no rhyme or reason to these trends. We see a lot of clients that some years could have 10 inquiries, the next year they could have 2. I can't explain it, and neither can they. That's the business we're in.
Okay, so let's get back to now, in the last few minutes, get back to the CronerTaxwise question specifically about schemes. Apart from obviously the help with the inquiry itself, any accountant who's with CronerTaxwise what else do they get out of being a CronerTaxwise accountant, apart from the obvious help with the fee, with the investigation?
So you've got the help with the investigation that sits there in the event of an inquiry. And by the way, you can use those people if the case isn't insured. You can still use those people. They'll be chargeable, but you can still use them. They're there.
Oh, right, okay.
Use them anytime.
Okay.
And also you've got all the advice team, the tax and VAT advice team. And again, that's not just for inquiry work. You call them on anything. Well, tax and VAT related, obviously. But then alongside that, we've got our digital marketing team that we've touched on. Yeah. So they will assist with the marketing of the
because that's a new thing I've seen you doing. Is it in the last 8 months or so? You're doing a lot more social media stuff to give to people to say what's going on, which I think is a big...
There's a huge demand for it from clients, to the point where we've employed somebody that's dedicated. We've got a whole digital team now, and one of the guys is dedicated to social media. He actually goes out to some of our clients to do sort of a health check and talk to them about their social media. So it's a service that the demand for is just it's going up and up and up.
I know also you've got CPD.
We have our webinar program. So you get three webinars a quarter. Where you can download the notes and your accreditation.
Your helplines?
Yes.
Yeah. So how many calls do we get roughly a year on the helpline?
We get about 170,000 calls a year. I know it sounds a bit of an astronomical figure, but that's what it is.
Okay, so we get 170,000 calls roughly a year to your helpline. They can't all be on we're only getting 7,000 claims, so it's obviously not all to do with investigation.
Oh no, not at all. I mean that advice service is there all year round.
So any Croner accountant, and just got a question about capital gains tax.
You could have had a conversation with a client. You could be doing a return. You could be doing anything. You could be doing the VAT return. So 170,000 calls a year. Oh, so cool. and a massive range. Some of them simple, some of them quite complex. Yeah. It does get busy in January, so do bear with us. We do our best.
Seminars and things. If I was to get a bunch of my clients together and wanted to talk to them about insurance just as part of normal practice management, would you guys come out and talk?
Yeah, we do a lot of seminars with our accountants for their clients, and we've got a whole range of topics we can cover. And yeah, they're proving quite popular. We probably put on 70, 80 events a quarter now with our accountants for their clients, and it helps them build the relationships with their clients.
Right. So the thing for anybody who's already an ICPA member and already is got their practice covered with CronerTaxwise is always remember there's help available, obviously through the ICPA as well, but there's additional help with Croner across the range on all manner of things. Don't feel scared to phone up and ask, because you may be not sure they do it, but they probably do. And for anyone who's thinking about it, it's not just about investigations.
There's a whole wealth of resource there. I mean, we have our weekly bulletins, we have VAT Voice, Tax Talk, and VAT Voice, the quarterly things, the tax resource on the website. There's a huge amount of resource.
Popping up in the Financial Times.
Oh, we have that
Ben
as well.
Chaplin Talks Tax.
Yes.
I see there popping up there.
Yes,
and Ben does write a lot for our magazine, as you know, Accounting Practice. Well, I think our time is up. Thanks for coming down, Ben.
Thanks,
Great
Tony.
to see you again.
Thanks, Tony.
Remember those email addresses. You've got a question about ICPA, Tony, that's Tony, at icpa.org.uk. If you want something to do specific with fee protection or an inquiry type question or a tax type question, you can get to Ben's team at hello@CronerTaxwise.com. So email them. If anything comes through to me and it's to do with Ben, I will forward it on, and people will be getting back to you through the next few days. Just before I sign off, we're coming up to, obviously, January. We're not going to put anything out in January, upset you all and myself. We're not going to put anything out in January because we're all a tad too busy. But if you've got any thoughts as to who you might like me to interview next, or a particular field or topic you'd like me to cover and get someone in, please send me your thoughts in, and we'll see if we can put something on. Anyway, until the next webinar, thanks for attending and goodbye.